Good afternoon, everyone. David Dubine here. Thank you for spending your valuable time with the Adapt 2030 channel. Patriot Sea, Russia, located on the map in the Arctic. There's sea monsters up there. 500 million barrels of oil. New discovery. Just yesterday, Heathrow was going to limit to 100,000 how many travelers could come through, and now the Netherlands is also going to do something similar. U.S. budget supporting crop-based biofuels, agriculture, climate-smart ag, land being removed from the schools, it's too expensive. English farmers paid up to £100,000 to retire. The only animals we need to remove. 3/4 of Americans very concerned about rising food prices. $5.59 for a single pound of apples. That shouldn't get you down. The Jumbo Cricket hot dog, $17. I'll link to an article with a map here. Holland, Dutch, Netherlands. Of these 12 districts, North Holland and South Holland is inside the Netherlands. You're going to hear more about that in the news very shortly. Let's stay on some maps in northern Scandinavia, moving into the Arctic here. Russian energy major discovering 82 million tons in the Preparedness Sea. They're pulling about 220 cubic meters a day. Significant oil potential and natural gas. So we're working with tons of oil. Let's do the equivalent here. 82 million tons equates into 560 million barrels of oil, more than 500 million. And you might ask, where is this place? Right here, Preparedness Sea, above the Arctic Circle. And being a fan of maps, I wanted to widen that out because it gives you a perspective about where Norway, Sweden, and Finland are to the far west near the anchor. Murmansk is that anchor point there. I circled it in orange just to the west of that long island, making an upside down U. Right about where the H is where this oil discovery happened. So I started looking at some older maps back in the 1600s. Did find some, but the exploration doesn't look as complete as the maps we see today, obviously. But there's sea monsters up there. And you know what? For 500 million barrels of oil, I'm sure we're going to battle the sea monsters. And looking for maps for the Kara Sea, I was directed over to the National Snow and Ice Data Center. That's out of the University of Colorado Boulder, NSIDC, government agency measuring sea ice, area of ocean with at least 15%. The blue line is this year. The last 5 years were the different colored lines. You can draw your own conclusion on that one. Moving over to yesterday's video, I was talking about Heathrow was going to limit arrivals to 100,000 per day because the luggage was stacked to the Himalaya and not enough staff either. Lo and behold, the very next day, Netherlands no longer wants travelers to connect through its major airport. The Schiphol Airport going to end cheap connecting flights 2023. Something called absolute zero. But it does seem there's a lot of catchphrases and acronyms rolling around. We're going to substitute the 3-letter agencies that we know now with other 3-letter agencies later. They're just going to do the swap here because the old system of 3 letters doesn't work in the new system. So everything's in flux right now. We're going to see a new economy emerge after the old one is completely obliterated to zero. It'll come back up with different pillars of stable, what you consider assets, then currency and debt can be issued against that again, but they're going to have to start with something new after this old one's imploded, debt disappears, starts over. Also with movement around the planet and in terms of agriculture, what you're going to be able to eat, buy, procure, grow yourself, raise yourself. There's an entirely new set of rules coming in here. 17 put forth by the United Nations. Encourage you to do more research on that. Do you remember how Facebook went down in October 2021? Recently in Canada, people couldn't even use their debit cards. That's how easy it is to shut down access to websites. Internet may be working, but the domain names don't. That's why you can't rely on old school internet websites. They can simply be cut off. Thankfully now there's a new social media platform called Bastyon. I'm active on Bastyon right now with the Adapt 2030 channel. You can follow me there. And also the description box below the video, there's a link where you can download the Bastyon app. And as long as the internet's running, you can never be blocked. So you can see video creators like myself and others. Bastyon is anonymous, even has a Tor network built in, so there's no need for a VPN. And if you follow me there, the Bastyon developers have announced that anyone following me there, commenting on the videos twice on Bastyon, receives a gift of 2 Pocketcoin automatically to your Bastyon profile. Once you download the app and install it, select sign up. You'll simply create a nickname. No personal information is required. You can add an avatar like I did to your profile or not. You'll get your own special private key. So you own it. Your keys, your feed. It's your login and your password all in one. Don't share it with anybody. You have to write down the private key. And remember, you're responsible. So if it's lost, it cannot be recovered. So let me show you my feed, where an enormous amount of content creators are heading to. And after you download the Bastyon app, just like anything that you would see at Twitter, you got your subscriptions, you got the videos that you could watch, different categories. What I want to do is pop the link in here. It's talking about the Ukrainian grain harvest. Only 29% compared to last year. That's a 70% reduction. Still not sure how they're going to move that, especially when supply chain's broken down. I'm just going to post it here. And away we go. That's off the desktop app. But at the same time, when I'm in my account, but on the browser version here, same exact thing. I've been able to load up the videos I've done through the Adapt 2030 channel, plus different types of information I'm coming across as I surf through the web. And it's so clean the way it's put up here for me to look into my feed and also the notifications at the top there. So give Bastyon a try. Like I said, that link's in the description box below. Click and go. And even if you want to register anonymously, you can. Private keys on the blockchain. It's as simple and as fast as that. Download Bastyon today, and I will see you there. Make sure you leave a comment in my feed and also join so you can get the latest updates from the Adapt 2030 channel. And now on with the video. Because the grains are struggling already around the world. There are so many disruptions, literally too many to count. Whether it be political, man-made, climate, whatever it is, any of these variables are wiping out crops globally. And less corn, wheat, and soy means less cattle and less food on our supermarket shelves, less ethanol, less everything, more expensive as we move forward. So I was looking at the new U.S. budget bill because there's a huge amount of money coming in for the agriculture industry, and I was really interested to see how they're going to divvy that new money up and where it's going to be earmarked for. Now, this was tucked into the Inflation Reduction Act, which just passed. A lion's share of the money is going to support crop-based biofuels. So, taking our food and then putting it into a gas tank. And I understand, animal feed or dent corn, that's not human consumption corn. So maybe we could earmark a little more territory for different corn species on the hybrid side. But then further on in the article, it talks about climate smart agriculture. But I liked what it talked about, supporting healthy forests, conservation, tax credits to farmers. Biofuels, that's a hit or miss because we're kind of using our food supply into the fuel tanks. And then infrastructure, which I totally agree with. If we have better infrastructure, prices will be less. So I looked into the pillars of the CSA. And they're very clean and very clear what they want to do. Sustainability increases, productivity and incomes. I love it. I think farmers should be paid millions of dollars a year to do what they do. Let's reverse that. Stockbrokers and anybody on finance at Wall Street gets paid a pittance. Farmers get paid millions and tens of millions for bringing in the food, even on small family plots. And number 2, adapt and build resilience of people and systems. Number 3, reduce and remove. The air we breathe, constituents inside there broken down into different categories. And within this, the CSA is an overlay of the SDG. So they're looking at synergies and trade-offs between the 3 pillars. They're going to implement in a 5-step process. The CSA and SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, 17 of those out of, I think there were 30 total, on how the world's going to move. It's a blueprint for where we're moving to after the collapse and restructuring of this world. So we're looking at the trade-offs here. So they need to increase agricultural productivity, need to bring down the number of workers, the number of fields tilled, and then also reduce the amount of fuel in that whole process is what that 1, 2, 3 talks about there. I didn't know I could count that high or know that many long, big words with that many letters in it. So you start recombining the letters on the letters on the letters, and we're going to need like 2 alphabets to accommodate all the new agencies. Each one, there's a goal with it, and then there's sub-goals and goals and the goals of the goals, and you're going 5 levels deep. Remember, this is the 5-step process, so within each step, there's a massive bureaucracy of steps of process, just putting people to work. So if you understand that we're going to go for higher yields on the crops, mainly GM on that, but they're going to want to reduce the amount of workers and the less disturbance to the land, and also reduce fuel output. You're not going to be able to use as much fuel running the machines in the field, so one of those numbers needs to go down. The less fuel you use, the less crops you're going to get. There's a balance in there somewhere. But the thing that should be asked is really, how much is this going to affect our current lives, the way we live, the number of calories coming in versus what is planned for the future as everything does crumble and then it's reassembled at the base here. But you know, a lot of these goals are incredibly noble in here, and I am 100% on board with some of these goals within it, which is a way that everybody can be involved in this. But the reductions of things on purpose to cause misery, really, that doesn't jive in the whole thing. But look at this, water catchment projects. We should take this to the next level and start generating micro hydro with that off the water catchment projects, gravitational vortex power, etc. In that overlapping Venn diagram, middle yellow there, the seed banks, I am an incredible fan of saving seed. Seed banks, absolutely. Agroforestry, 100% on board. We should be farming the forest, using that forest floor for abundant growth of innumerable products that we use in our lives. Plant breeding, I'm a fan of that too. If you have 2 species to get a higher yield in your local area. And then water harvesting and farm ponds, of course, because then ecosystems grow around that. So that intercropping also, I have an orchard, I like to grow things under it, and we're still deciding what to put there, but there are about 25 choices to intercrop under an orchard. So it comes back into, yeah, I'm a huge fan of some of the goals in there, but on the other hand, see, this is how it is. It's such a razor thin thing to talk about moving forward, because I am for part of this, but the implementation of it, the way it's going to be implemented, I'm not. But the end result and where they've gone, you know, sustainability has been talking about this for 30, 40 years, and this is the reason with this massive ag that we're at this point talking about these same things, returning back to the very point we could have been 40 years ago, implementing all of this. And if you want to take a look at the goals here from 20 to 2029, each different phase in movement, from road to rail to fly to shipping, heating, appliances, food, mining, materials, metals, production, construction, manufacturing, electricity, and fossil fuels. One deep breath for that one. Leading us into, you're starting to see it on the streets in front of you. Main Street. Lamb is being removed from school dinners. It's too expensive. They're forced to put greens into the burgers. And notice they're able to get to a 50% concentration on that. So 50% leafy green, 50% meat. And this is off the Financial Times. I covered this. So the Christian Ice Age farmer, English farmer, is going to be paid £100,000 to retire. And this is going to free up an enormous amount of land, which will not be allowed to be refarmed again once that goes in play. And now we're coming out with new proposals to pay £5,000 for herders to get rid of their cows. If you read the article there, that's £5,000 per cow. That is way more than the going rate for anything beef that could be sold into the market. Even if you got $3 a pound live weight on an 800-pound animal, even at that max pricing, is 50% of what they're offering to cows. The catch is, once you sell them, you can never raise again. They're getting you a buyout clause there. Ireland also needs to cull up to 1.3 million cattle to reach the same CSA goals. So if they have a grain shortage, they can't feed the cows, and if they can't do that, they're going to send them to the market. So we get into this feedback loop of grain shortages lead to cattle shortages and beef shortages, and farmers trying to exit at whatever price they can. This image from the 1930s, and it is so relevant today. Nothing has changed since the 1930s with those on the electoral levels. Earmarks. 3/4 of Americans are very concerned about rising food prices, food, gas, and other goods. Very is the very dark to the left. Rising prices for food, consumer goods, gasoline, energy, and housing will be the top three there. Because paying $5.59 for a single pound of Honeycrisp apples is absurd. I remember when you could get a pound for 50 cents at harvest season, $1 for a pound. Now $5.50, that is really shocking. But don't worry, we got Jumbo Cricket hot dogs, $17, with fries, $20. Seems like a bargain compared to the apples. I don't know. Just thinking about the food. How about some emergency food? 3-month emergency food supply, 25-year shelf life. My Patriot Supply and Adapt 2030. That link's in the description box below. Use the promo code Adapt 2030. Save $150 on your order. Also, join me over at Bastyon, Adapt 2030. That link's also click and go. I do appreciate you watching. Hope you got something out of the video, and I will see you next time.